I've been a personal trainer for over a decade, and I've seen some strange things in the gym, but nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to my experience with a client ILL call, Rochelle. It started off normally enough. She booked a session, we went through her goals, and I designed a program for her. She was motivated, a bit quiet, but seemed friendly. The first few weeks were great. She was making progress. We had a good rapport, and everything was on track. Then, the weirdness began. It was subtle at first. She started calling me by a different name. David. The first time it happened, I corrected her gently. "Oh, it's Mark, actually." She just laughed it off. "Oh, silly me." I don't know where that came from, but it kept happening. David this, David that. I corrected her every single time, but it was like talking to a wall. She'd apologize, then do it again 5 minutes later. It was starting to get under my skin. Then she started talking about our memories. Things we'd supposedly done together. "David, remember that trip we took to the beach last summer? The one where you got that ridiculous sunburn?" I had no idea what she was talking about. I'd never been to the beach with her. I'd only known her for a few weeks, and only in the context of the gym. I tried to explain this to her, but she'd just look at me with this confused, almost hurt expression, as if I was the one being strange. It felt like I was losing my mind. Was this some kind of elaborate prank? But her confusion seemed so genuine. One day, she brought in a photo. It was a picture of her with a man on a beach. He looked a bit like me. I guess same hair color. Similar build, but it clearly wasn't me. "See," she said, pointing at the photo. "That was such a fun day. David, why are you pretending you don't remember?" That's when it clicked. I was a stand-in for her ex-boyfriend, David. I felt a chill run down my spine. This wasn't just a simple mix-up. This was a full-blown delusion. I immediately went to my manager and explained the situation. We agreed that for safety reasons, I couldn't train her anymore. My manager handled the conversation, telling her that my schedule was full and she'd be transferred to another trainer. She was visibly upset, but she accepted it. I thought that would be the end of it. Primera was wrong. A week later, I was in the middle of a session with another client. I was spotting him on the bench press when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around, and there was Rachel. Her eyes were red and puffy, like she'd been crying. Before I could say a word, she slapped me. Hard. Right across the face. The whole gym went silent. Everyone stared. My client just froze, the barbell hovering over his chest. "How could you do this to me, David?" She screamed, tears streaming down her face. "After everything we've been through, you just throw me away like I'm nothing." I was in complete shock. My cheek was stinging, and I could feel 100 pairs of eyes on me. Two of the bigger trainers who saw what happened immediately came over and gently escorted her out of the building while my manager called security. They ended up revoking her membership permanently. I never saw her again, but I'll never forget the look in her eyes. It was a terrifying mix of love, betrayal, and pure delusion. That whole ordeal really shook me up. It was a stark reminder that you never truly know what's going on in someone else's head. But strange encounters in the gym aren't always that dramatic. Sometimes they're just plain weird and a little bit dangerous. Which brings me to my next story. This one happened to me, not as a trainer, but as the person lifting the weights. I was trying to hit a new personal record on the bench press. It was a weight I'd never attempted before, so I knew I needed a spotter. I usually ask one of my trainer buddies, but none of them were around. So I scanned the weight room and saw this guy who looked like he knew what he was doing. He was huge, muscular, and looked like he practically lived in the gym. I went over and asked, "Hey man, could you give me a spot on the bench?" He grinned and said, "Yeah, no problem, bro." I got set up on the bench, took a deep breath, and he helped me unrack the bar. The first rep went up smoothly. I was feeling strong. The second rep was a bit of a grind, but I got it. I went for the third, and that's when I hit a wall. Halfway up, my arms just gave out. The bar stalled. This is the moment a spotter is supposed to step in, gently help you guide the bar back up to the rack. But that's not what this guy did. Instead of helping, he started screaming at me. And I don't mean encouraging words. I mean full on. Drill sergeant screaming, his face an inch from mine. "Push! Push it. You're not a quitter. Don't be weak. Lift it. Lift it. His voice was booming through the entire gym. Everyone was staring. The bar was slowly, painfully, descending towards my chest. I was genuinely struggling. My muscles were burning, and I couldn't lock out my elbows. I grunted. I can't. Take it. Normally, that's the cue for the spotter to take the weight. But this guy, he just screamed louder. Don't you dare give up on me. One more. You've got one more in you. Fight for it. He wasn't even touching the bar. He was just hovering over me, shouting spittle-flecked encouragement that felt more like a threat. At this point, I was panicking. The bar was about to crush my ribcage. My arms were shaking uncontrollably. This wasn't motivation. This was a hostage situation. Finally, just as I thought my sternum was about to snap, he reached down, but he didn't lift the bar. He put 2 fingers under it and said, "It's all you, bro. All you." While barely applying any pressure. It was the most terrifying and useless spot in the history of weightlifting. By some miracle, fueled by pure adrenaline and the fear of imminent death, I managed to heave the bar back onto the rack. I lay there, gasping for air, my heart pounding like a drum. He slapped me on the shoulder, beaming. "See? I knew you had it in you. Never give up." It walked away proud as a peacock, leaving me completely traumatized. I just laid on that bench for a good 5 minutes, replaying the near-death experience in my head. From that day on, I learned a valuable lesson. Never, ever trust a random stranger to spot you on a heavy lift. It's just not worth the risk. Find someone you know and trust, or just lift within your limits. Your ribcage will thank you. Thanks so much for watching and letting me share my crazy gym stories. If you've had any weird encounters at the gym, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Stay safe out there, and happy lifting. This anger caused a knot of fear in my chest. I grabbed my water bottle and just walked over to the machines, pretending I didn't hear him. But he followed me. His footsteps were faster and louder than mine. "You're wasting my time," he sneered. "This is what you girls like to do." I ignored him and started adjusting the height of the cable. He shouted, "Don't you walk away from me." I was shocked. His voice echoed through the gym, making everyone turn to look. A guy on a treadmill stopped running. 2 girls who were stretching glanced at each other. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Please, leave me alone." He smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was a twisted, mocking grin. "You took my spot, and now you're pretending to be the victim. You're clearly just trying to mess with me." I was stunned by his behavior. I didn't want to hear any more of his nonsense, so I turned and headed straight for the front desk. But before I could get there, he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "Go away," I said. "Not until you apologize," he growled. "For what?" "For wasting my time, for playing games with me." I tried to sidestep him, but he grabbed my arm, his grip so tight the pain shot up to my shoulder. I couldn't stay still. With all my strength, I slapped his face. He just stood there, expressionless, as his cheek turned red. His eyes were wide. Then his fingers dug deeper into my skin, and his voice dropped to a low grunt. "You owe me," he hissed. My heart was pounding. "I don't owe you anything. Don't you raise your voice at me." He just tightened his grip. Panic surged through me as I squeezed my eyes shut. Tears pricked at the back of my eyes. I hate it, crying out of fear. It just encourages people like him. A young guy nearby, maybe 20 years old, stepped forward and told the man to leave me alone. The man slowly turned towards him, then shoved him hard. The boy stumbled back and crashed into a weight rack. I tried to pull away again, but he started twisting my arm. I heard a faint crack from my own bones. "Wait. Help. Somebody help me." Before I could finish, security burst through the double doors. 2 big guards with angry faces. I suddenly remembered the gym has security cameras. The man didn't move at first. Then he slowly lifted his head, as if he'd been disturbed. His grip loosened, just enough for me to wrench free and scramble behind the guards. They grabbed him. He raged like a wild animal, spitting and kicking, shouting and muttering. It took both guards and the young guy he'd pushed to finally subdue him. The front desk attendant immediately called the police. I just stood there, shaking, holding my injured arm and trying to catch my breath. I felt like I'd just run a marathon fueled by pure fear. When the police arrived, the man didn't stop shouting, "This is insane." I was helping her. This is my reward. The officers handcuffed him and started asking questions. One of them approached me slowly. "Ma'am, has he ever bothered you before?" "No," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I've never seen him until today." The officer's face turned serious. "Okay. You're not the first woman he's done this to. He has been banned from 2 other gyms in the district for the same abusive behavior towards female members. Each time, it's escalated. As they finally dragged him out, he looked right at me. There was something in his eyes that wasn't just normal anger. It was something else entirely. I didn't go back to the locker room. I went straight to my car and just sat there, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I didn't feel safe until hours later, when I finally locked my apartment door from the inside. That night, lying in bed, every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, inches from mine. Some experiences don't just scare you, they change you. This was one of them. I've worked the night shift most of my life, a warehouse, a mall, even a bus depot once. But nothing unnerves me like an empty gym. There's something about the absolute silence, with every machine lying still like a sleeping beast waiting to wake up. And this place was even worse. Our gym was closed for a complete renovation. The floors were torn up, mirrors removed, the ceiling half open with wires hanging down like vines. Half the treadmills were shrouded in murky plastic sheets that rustled whenever the AC kicked on. That night, I started my shift at 11. I did my rounds, checked all the doors. Everything was as it should be, until 2:15 in the morning, when I heard a loud bang. It was a sharp, metallic sound that echoed from the old locker room at the far end of the building. I froze. The renovation crew often left tools behind, so I told myself something must have fallen. Maybe a ladder, or a storage cabinet wasn't closed properly. Still, something felt wrong about that sound. It wasn't just a clatter. It was a solid thud, like someone hitting a door from the inside. I grabbed my flashlight, cleared my throat to steady my nerves, and headed towards the locker room. The hallway was pitch black, except for the beam of my light, the rustle of the plastic sheets, the faint hum of the light fixtures. It all amplified the silence. When I reached the locker room, the door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open a little more and stepped inside. As my light swept across the first row of lockers, my stomach lurched. 3 of the metal doors had bloody streaks on them, 4 long lines, as if someone had dragged their hand down the surface. For a moment, I just stood there, my breath catching in my throat. Someone must have broken in, Primera told myself, but it didn't make sense. There were no signs of forced entry at any of the doors. And why would a burglar be spreading blood around instead of stealing things? I grabbed my radio. Maintenance. This is security. Something's not right in the locker room. Static. I pressed the button again. Maintenance. Do you copy? Just a loud buzz in response. Then I heard it. A wet, gurgling cough, echoing from the demolished shower area. That part of the gym had been gutted earlier in the week. The walls were just frames, the tile floor smashed and scattered like broken bones. The coughing sound came again, slower this time, and filled with pain. Against all my better judgment, Primera, followed Italiano. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Metallic, hot, unmistakably blood. My flashlight trembled in my hand as I stepped over the broken tiles, dust swirling around my boots. Then, my foot hit something soft. I looked down. Lying between 2 shattered tiles was a severed hand. Its fingers were slightly curled inward, as if reaching for something, trying to catch something. It was still fresh. Skin color was still normal. It was not rigid. I felt like vomiting and staggered back. My stomach came up to my throat before I could even breathe. A voice came from behind the half-broken shower wall. You scared me. I raised the flashlight so fast that it almost slipped out of my hand. His face was painted red. He had stripes on his forehead, around his mouth, on his neck, as if he had wiped his face with bloody hands. But the worst part was his smile. He tilted his head, which made a loud noise. Do you know? They locked me here tonight when the construction was over. He was shivering when I raised the flashlight further. In his right hand was a rusty tile cutter, one that has sharp teeth for cutting ceramic. His teeth were full of something, hair and flesh. Oh God, I took a breath. You were looking at it, he asked, holding up the ooze like a trophy. It works very well. It just has better teeth than the new ones. He waved a finger over the edge. They just catch you. Then he pounced on me. I didn't think so. I didn't breathe. I just turned and ran. The room turned into chaos. The soles were breaking under my boots. When I pushed the plastic sheets forward, she was flapping. Behind me I heard her laugh, a strange animal-like laugh. After which he started running with a saw in his hand. Then there was a loud sound of metal rubbing against the tile. He was very fast. Faster than I thought. Come back, he shouted. Come here. Come here. Come here. I ran towards the emergency exit. My lungs were burning. My legs were shaking, but the adrenaline pushed me forward. Ion's shoulder hit the door. He staggered out into the cold night air and slammed it shut from the outside. He hit the door. The metal shook. I reached so much trembling it almost fell. Blue lights were flashing in the distance. Hearing the noise, another guard must have called the police. I ran towards them, waving my hands. My voice shook as I tried to explain. By the time police arrived at the building, the man was gone. They found him 1 hour later, hiding like a rabid animal inside a hair duct. He was holding a tile knife in his hand, humming to himself, and hiding in the pile of insulation next to him there were 2 more dead bodies. So people who were missing for more than a week were living in the gym. Was eating, waiting, watching. I left the job the next morning. Didn't even clean his locker. He did not even ask for his last salary. I just walked out and never looked back. People think night shift is quiet, but when you're alone in a half-finished building with shadows, vents, and broken spaces, you're never really alone. Some things creep in the dark. Some things are left behind after the laborers leave, and other things are waiting for someone like me to hear a voice.